Imagine a world divided, a world on the brink of destruction, a world in the grip of the Cold War. This was our reality from 1947 to 1991. During these tense years, an ideological and political struggle unfolded between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, splitting the world into two blocks. The Western Bloc, led by the United States, advocating for democracy and capitalism, and the Eastern Bloc under the Soviet Union, championing communism. The ever-present threat of nuclear warfare hung heavy in the air, fueling an intense arms race as each superpower sought to outdo the other. It was a time of suspicion, fear, and hostility, with every action scrutinized under the lens of this global standoff. In this atmosphere of suspicion and hostility, one city became the symbol of division: Berlin. In the heart of Europe, a wall rose overnight, a wall that would divide a city, a country, and a world. In 1961, East Germany erected this formidable barrier, not to keep intruders out, but to keep its own inhabitants in. The Berlin Wall, a concrete and barbed wire monolith, stretched over 100 miles, cleaving Berlin in two. Its purpose? To halt the mass exodus of people fleeing from the communist East to the democratic West. The wall was more than just a physical barrier, though. It was a tangible embodiment of the Iron Curtain, a stark symbol of the ideological chasm that split the world into two opposing blocks. It stood as a silent, grim testament to the tensions of the time, a time when the threat of nuclear annihilation hung heavy in the air. For nearly 3 decades, the Berlin Wall stood as a stark reminder of the divisions of the Cold War. But in the late 1980s, winds of change began to blow across Europe. The Cold War was nearing its end, and the iron grip of the Soviet Union was beginning to loosen. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev had initiated a series of reforms, glasnost and perestroika, aiming to revitalize the Soviet Union both economically and politically. These policies allowed for greater freedom of expression and opened the door to political and social change. Yet in East Germany, a nation long held under the thumb of Soviet authority, these changes were met with both anticipation and unease. The people were growing restless. They yearned for freedom, for democracy, for the chance to live without the shadow of the wall looming over them. In 1989, the unrest reached a boiling point. Peaceful protests sprang up throughout East Germany, with hundreds of thousands taking to the streets in cities like Leipzig and Berlin, demanding change. The world watched, holding its breath, as the East German government grappled with the escalating situation. But it was a series of miscommunications and misunderstandings within the East German government that would ultimately lead to the wall's downfall. On November 9, 1989, an unexpected announcement was made. The East German government, in an attempt to quell the growing unrest, had decided to allow citizens to travel to the West. However, the news was misunderstood and spread like wildfire. The Berlin Wall was open, and so it was. East and West Berliners, in a moment of pure, unadulterated joy, flocked to the wall. They climbed it, they chipped away at it, they danced on it. The guards, unsure of what to do, stood by and watched as the symbol of division and oppression crumbled under the weight of a people's desire for freedom. In a matter of hours, Berlin was reunited, and the wall that had divided it for so long was no more. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked not just the end of a divided Berlin, but the beginning of a new era for Germany, Europe, and the world. The fall of the Berlin Wall was more than just the demolition of a structure, it was the end of an era. As the concrete barrier crumbled, so too did the ideological divide that for nearly 3 decades had cut a jagged line through the heart of Germany, and indeed, the world. The fall of the wall heralded the end of the Cold War, a period marked by political tension and nuclear brinkmanship between the world's superpowers. Suddenly, a reunified Germany was within reach. Families separated by the wall were reunited, and a nation divided was made whole again. It was a poignant symbol of the powerful drive for freedom and unity. Meanwhile, the wall's fall sparked a significant shift in Eastern Europe. Countries once shackled by the chains of communism embraced democracy and capitalism, marking a new chapter in their history. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked a turning point in history, a moment of triumph for freedom and unity in the face of division and conflict.